3.6, quadratic formula and the discriminant. Last lesson of the chapter. Make sure you have your calculators. That's the quadratic formula. Make sure you write that down. Make sure you memorize that. All right, it won't be given to you. You have to memorize it. Quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Where does a, b, and c come from? Quadratic. Good. Ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. Just a new way to solve quadratics. This way is, I don't want to say the easiest because I think factoring is easier if you understand factoring. I guess the best way to describe it is this is the most straightforward, I guess, because it's just a formula, right? Literally all you do is plug those numbers in and simplify it. Plug and chug, basically. Right, so that's what we're doing today. Okay? So make sure this formula gets memorized, okay? Because you need to know how to plug everything in there, okay? We'll learn this later on in the lesson, but I want to make a note of it right now. This part right here, the b squared minus 4ac part, not the square root itself, but just the b squared minus 4ac, that has got a special name. It's called the discriminant. D-I-S-C-R-I-M. Yeah, I think it's A-N-T. I-N. A-N-T, something like that. It'll be up later how to actually spell it. That looks kind of like, let's check, hold up. D-I-S-C-R-I-M-I-N-A-N-T. Hey, look at me, I can spell. All right, Marks?
You said not the square root itself,
just the b squared minus 4ac part, yep. Okay. You'll see that word before we actually talk about what it means a bunch, okay? So just so you know which part it is, that's what part it is, okay? Questions so far? Great, moving on. So we're going to solve x squared minus 10x equals 11. Much like factoring, these have to equal 0. Okay, subtract 11, subtract 11. Get x squared minus 10x minus 11 equals 0. Then you just plug everything in. A is 1, B, and C. Okay, so A is 1, B is what? Negative 10. All right, signs go with. Okay, that's important here. Negative 10. All right, so the quadratic formula is negative, B is negative 10. So this is where a mistake happens all the time, right there. Okay, that eventually changes to positive. All right, it's a negative B in the formula. And when b is negative, you're going to eventually switch it to positive. Okay, so be careful about that part. So minus a negative 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared minus 4. Whoops, I needed what a and c are. A is 1, c is negative 11, all over 2. Okay. Then you go through and clean it up now. All right, so minus a negative 10 becomes plus 10, plus or minus square root. Negative 10 squared is 100. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 11 becomes plus 44. 2 times 1 is 2. Going up here with the rest of it. So it becomes 10 plus or minus the square root of 144 all over 2. What's the square root of 144? 12, good. 10 plus 9 is 12 divided by 2. Once you have it down to that, you got to do it twice, right? Okay, just like completing the square, you had plus and minus. Here you do also. So you got to do 10 plus 12 divided by 2. 10 minus 12 divided by 2. So 10 plus 12 is 22. Divide by 2, you get 11. 10 minus 12 is negative 2. Divide by 2, you get 1. I'll show you. Ready? Here we go. Second one. X squared plus 6x equals 16. Make sure that you make it equals 0 first. Now, something else I didn't tell you. If you run the program one time, you just hit enter again and it restarts it. So you don't have to keep going program, quad form, enter. As soon as, if you don't do anything in between and you hit enter again, it starts it right back up. Okay, so 1, enter 6, enter negative 16. And it tells you the answers are
2 and negative 8. 2 and negative 8.
This one equals 0. Look at that. So A is 1, B is 8, C is 16. Discriminant is 0 in this case, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, people without their calculators / without the right ones / no calculator, you're going to get left behind today.
Yeah, I just did.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you're going to get left behind. Okay, McPherson.
It's not wrong.
It's technically no. It wouldn't be wrong if you did put both. That's fine. I figure OCD type people that want to make sure everything's perfect. Yes, they will put both anyways. Okay, but it's not necessary. Okay, everybody good? Still makes sense?
Yeah.
Pretty easy, right? Okay, moving on. Okay, so 2x squared plus 6x minus 7. Now, when you run this, A is 2, B is 6, and C is negative 7. What's your discriminant? 92. Now, what do you know about 92? It doesn't square root at least nicely, okay? So hit enter one more time. Your answers are 0.98791576127 and negative 3.8979155762. Alec.
Do we divide everything by 2 and then put those?
No. Good idea, but no. Stone.
After you said 92, you have to go in and put that in the formula and do it yourself.
There you go. Okay. I hate 2 questions. Actually, no. I hate 3 questions. Did you grade the test yet? When am I ever going to use this? And what do we round to? I hate those 3 questions. Okay? 5 minutes? Okay. So, I don't want you to round to anything because I want what's called exact solutions. All right? So, if you get decimals like that, here's what you do. Plus or minus square root. We know the discriminant is what?
0. Or not 0. No,
It's okay. 92. Okay. We know it's 92. Discriminant goes inside that square root. Now you fill in the rest. Okay? So the front number, negative b, so negative 6, over 2 times a, so 2 times 2. Okay? So clean that part up. Negative 6 plus or minus square root. You got to factor tree 92 next. Okay, which goes 2 and what? 30... 46, right? And 46 goes what? 2 and 23? Is that right?
Yeah.
So you have 2. Shouldn't have drawn that square root sign just yet. Oops, redo that. So you have negative 6 plus or minus 2 rad 23 all over 4.
No.
What do you got to do?
The 6 and 4.
And the 2. All 3. Okay?
So
See how all 3?
negative
Oh, crap. I forgot about that. the 6, the 2, and the 4. Now, you reduce the numbers on the outside. You don't reduce into that square root. Okay? So divide everything by 2, -3, plus or minus square root 23 all over 2.
So in that case, when you have a rad left, you don't do the plus or minus.
Yeah, because it was already
You just
plus.
reduce as much as possible.
-2 plus or minus square root. Leave it alone. Yep.
Okay. Because it's a negative square root.
There you go. Okay. So when you run x squared minus 6x plus 10, it tells you your discriminant's -4. So there's two cases where you got to do work. Okay? There's two cases. Case number 1, whenever the discriminant's not a perfect square. Case number 2, if it's negative. All right? Anything else, you run it through. The other, there's actually 4 cases total. So half of them you got to do work on, half of them you don't. All right? This one, your discriminant's -4. So you do it the exact same way we just did. Plug it in. Set everything up. Net minus the -6 become +6. All over 2 times that. Clean it up first. All right. Square root of -4 is 2i. So 6 plus or minus 2i all over 2. Since 4 is a perfect square, the radical is gone. See that? So when you divide 6, 2, and 2, reduce it all, you're left without a fraction, which is okay. That can happen. All right, so then you're left with discriminant determines the number and type of roots of a quadratic equation. Like we already talked about, it's b squared minus 4ac. That part. Not the square root in that part, but just that part. All right. Now, the reason why I have you have that pop up first on your program is twofold. All right. Number one, we already talked about. Okay. If it doesn't work out where it's nice, then you can just go ahead and plug that into your radical and simplify it all the way down from there. The second reason I have that in there is because of what we're about to do. Your discriminant tells you so much about your parabola. All right? It does. About your quadratic. It tells you, like it says, the number and type of solutions that you'll have. So I may just ask you for, like your homework tonight, what is the discriminant? And then tell me how many and what types of solutions you would have. Not what they are, but what they are going to be. See the difference in the question? All right. So I want you guys, once you're done writing this down, I want you to flip back through your notes. Okay? Go back to the top 2 problems. All right, let's see how good my memory is. Hold on. The first discriminant we had was 144, right?
Yep.
All right, and 2 answers were what? 11 and -1. The second discriminant we had, don't tell me, hold on, I'll get it.
0.
No,
Yeah.
there's one in between.
No, it was -50.
Yeah, there was one in between, right? Okay, hold on, hang on.
We can't even check that.
100, right?
Huh?
There's 100.
No, that was the first one. This one was 100.
Yeah, there was a second one. Or 8, -2, and -8. Yeah.
That was the second
So you marked that down. All right, look at me.
one.
The third one was 0,
Yep.
and our solution then was what?
-4.
-4 and -4, but -4 happened how many times?
What?
Twice. Okay, so really, -4. Okay? The next one was 92. What happened then?
You got the decimal.
It was ugly. Right? 92 was our first ugly one. And then we had -4, which went into our imaginaries.
Yes.
Those aren't by coincidences. Okay? Alright. Go back to the first 2. The discriminant was 144 and 100, right? And we had how many nice answers? 2, and they were nice, right? Okay? Even the fractions. Calculator spits out fractions to you even. So do we consider fractions nice today?
Yes.
We will. Alright. 2, nice. Instead of saying nice, say rational. Okay? 2 rational answers. I'll tell you a second. When it was 0, You had how many answers? 1. Also nice, so rational. Once you went to a positive that was not a perfect square, they became what? Irrational, ugly. Okay? And then when they went negative, they became what? Imaginary. Those are your 4 cases. All right? And that's what this screen kind of details. Okay? Here's what it all says. If you look on this left column, b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0, which means positive. B squared minus 4ac is a perfect square. Right? Type and number of roots, 2, real, rational. You don't need to say real, just say 2 rational. 2 rational roots. Whether it's a nice whole number or it's a fraction, doesn't matter. It's a nice one. Once you move down here, you're still bigger than 0, which means you're still positive, but now you're not a perfect square. Keyword not. Then it's 2 irrational roots. That would be your plus or minus the square roots of 23 and over whatever. All right. Your third case is if you equal 0, which means you have 1 rational root. That's the graph representation. Remember seeing those pictures? Okay, where it touches the x-axis and that's it. The other one is if you're less than 0, which means you're negative, which means you have 2 imaginary complex, however you want to say it. Whichever one, they're the same thing. That would be i's. Yep. The hard ones are these 2. Perfect square, rational, not perfect square, irrational, but you have 2 of them both times. Negative, you have 2 imaginaries. Equal 0, you have 1 nice. Page 205, 21 through 29 is the homework. All right.